Warning: resin is a toxic material and extremely harmful for the respiratory system when airborne during sanding, grinding, or drilling. The dust, when breathed in, can cause short and long-term health problems, including cancer. Please use a particle or dual organic respirator. Thank you. Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Mokono Man at YouTube with a video review on the Ferry Kikaku Fiat 2000, a World War One super heavy tank fielded by the Italians with a traversing turret, lots of machine guns, lots of cannons. Super interesting subject. Was not actually used in the war, but was successfully fielded with some issues directly after the war, particularly in an uprising in Syria, I think. Definitely saw action in the Middle East, as well as displays. This is a manufacturer or garage kit company in Japan, pretty small, and they sell these recasted kits on various online stores. Now, the kit was not very cheap, but the quality is definitely there. We get this very interesting pastel printed image on the front. Text is mostly in Japanese with scale, as well as the side. Inside is a very cute cardboard box with instructions and parts in a plastic bag. Instructions are hand-drawn and printed. We get ample amount of bubble wrap and updeen pieces in a very unusual blue resin. By closer inspection, the castings are a tad rough, and the sculpts are definitely done by hand or eye. Straight off the bat, we clean up the resin in soapy water twice and allow it to dry off as we usually do. The casting and moulding process is a little more to its imagination. The proportions are very good, and I do not mind the detail, though the accuracy is a bit in question. It almost has a wargaming-esque sculpt to it. I'm not too sure about these holes and pegs to line up, fit, and glue together. I had to sort of change that up and super glue everything in place. Ample sculpting putty, not seamline filling putty, but actually sculpting putty is required to plug it up just to make the model work. With the subject being very unusual and possibly another manufacturer not covering it, the construction is not for the faint-hearted. A little experience is definitely required, but it's not all bad news. The model does look really lovely when completely assembled and you're about to throw some paint on it. So I definitely say, due to its rarity and the subject matter, recommended, definitely worth getting. It will require a lot of work trying to get it together, as the fitting and sculpt is a bit on the amateurish side. I find it very, very charming nonetheless. I did have to replace the gun barrels in the scratch building motion with brass rod. The bottom was also covered with styrene plate. Moving straight along, the kit received a very heavy coat of primer via a rattle can, automotive style from a hardware store. This showed off the detail and the profile quite nicely. After drying, using Guyannote oxidized red, the bottom and top was undercoated. Then I used various different yellows and yellow browns to achieve a desert scheme. Being quite large, I decided to airbrush with a Sterner and Hardbeck style airbrush to get a really nice gradient, and as well as freehand camouflage. The three tones work quite well, gradient from lows being dark, highs being light. and then freehanding different schemes with brown and a pink colour highlights, and lastly green and a eggshell or light green effect. This came out really well. Enjoyed using a much higher end airbrush to achieve a more splatter free and finer and easier to control finish. After the initial airbrushing, decals were applied depicting the Italian school from und Panzer, and they were ever so slightly weathered with the appropriate colours of paint ever so finely dusted on top. The barrels, tank tracks and other details were hand painted, everything given a gloss coat. A few coats of sludge washes from by SMS, sufficient time to dry, and SMS matte clear to mat it all up and have a finished effect. A bit of black dusted at low points and around some edges, as well as the end of gun barrels, to bring out more definition and detail. A very nice combination of weathering methods to bring out the kit in general. I was very excited to buy this kit online. Such an unusual subject. Really enjoyed Googling and researching it and learning about its history. Once I got the box, unboxed it, started it, it was a major disappointment. The warpage, the mucking around, the weird looking detail. Once assembled, once all the effort in putting and modelling and a tiny bit of scratching and paint has gone on it, I'm really happy. The sculpt is really cool. The kit looks really cool. I definitely recommend going out of it if the subject matter does tickle your fancy. The proportions and detail looks right to the reference material I did look at, as well as the scale. The assembling, as mentioned, does need a lot of work, a little experience in resin, but it's nothing too hard. Also, airbrushing with the AirTech style Sterner and Hardback airbrush. I don't pull it out too often, but going for a freehand camo scheme, it was very easy to control with lacquers properly thinned and applied through. The finish is just absolutely impressive. Can't be any more happy with just how it came out. Really took my time on it, and it's definitely one of my better 70-second kits. I did make it a few months ago, and I made a few kits quite recently. Some of them were hit and miss in its final approach, but this one definitely does pop up as a really fun build and something I look back quite fondly. I've ordered another World War I Italian tank. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned for more unusual and interesting content, tutorials, reviews, and whatnot. YouTube has been a bit funny with inboxes and all that sort of stuff in putting out my subscription content and people finding it. Please keep a very close eye on my Facebook. All videos are always posted there, as well as various other groups. If you're having any problems or whatnot, please report back. And I'm quite interactive with the comment section, so any sort of questions or engagements will be followed up. Catch you guys later.